Welcome back to the deep dive. We're the ones who sift through, well, frankly, mountains of source material on things like the AI competitive landscape. We pull out the really valuable stuff, the insights, so you can get ahead faster. And today, our mission is pretty straightforward, but I think it's genuinely revolutionary. We're doing a deep dive into source material that really redefines how professionals should be thinking about artificial intelligence. Not as, a single tool, but more like a specialized, high-performing team, a workforce.
That's absolutely right. For too long, the default has kind of been treating AI as this one big thing, monolithic. But the sources we're looking at today, they push for a pretty profound shift in thinking. It centers on this great analogy, drafting a dream team for your career. But the team members aren't people. They're AIs, strategically picked and deployed to really boost your professional output.
Yeah, it's a shift, isn't it, from being just a passive AI user to becoming more of an active AI leader. We stop asking, which AI is the best overall? And start asking, okay, which AI is the absolute best for this specific task I need done right now? So this deep dive, it's really about analyzing that competitive landscape, looking at the different platforms, understanding their strengths, but also their weaknesses, their Achilles heels, and figuring out where they fit best so you can build your own, personal digital task force.
And what's really fascinating here is how quickly the industry, bumped up against the limits of that one model fits all idea. It just didn't hold. The need for specialization became obvious pretty fast. So we moved from relying on just one tool to what the source framework actually calls a portfolio of talent. And that distinction, it's crucial because mastery, going forward, it won't just be about knowing how to talk to one AI. It's going to be about orchestrating many.
Okay, but let me push back on that for a second. Let's challenge that premise. You got these big models, GPT, Claude, Gemini. They're all learning constantly, right?
Yeah.
Integrating new features. Aren't they all just kind of converging? Heading towards some single super competent AGI anyway? So why put in the effort now to coordinate 4 different platforms? Is this whole dream team strategy maybe just temporary?
That's a really good question. And yeah, the source material actually tackles that convergence argument directly. It suggests that, yes, general capabilities will improve across the board, no doubt. But the core, let's call it personality, or maybe the philosophical design of these models, that seems to be surprisingly persistent, sticky. So even if they all eventually get to the point where they can do, say, 95% of tasks pretty well, that last 5%, that crucial bit, the specific accuracy for a certain field, that creative spark, the built-in safety checks, that's likely to stay distinct.
Yeah.
Because it comes down to their core mission, their training data, how they were fundamentally built.
Okay, so that distinctiveness matters. That 5% is where the real value lies for specific jobs. So the big question then is, who should be on your starting roster and why? Do you go with GPT for that raw creative power? Or do you lean on Claude for that more polished, careful approach? Is it Gemini's real-time info that you need most? Or Copilot's ability to just get things done seamlessly? We need to really get into the core philosophy here, why this specialization is actually necessary.
Right. And the necessity, it comes down to 2 main things: mitigating risk and maximizing efficiency. If you rely on just one AI platform, like the framework points out, you're basically setting yourself up with multiple single points of failure. And it's not just the obvious stuff, like, sudden price hikes or the servers going down. There's a more subtle risk, too, a pervasive one, actually, the risk of biased or skewed output.
Okay, you mentioned the risk of a platform's built-in political or ethical biases affecting the output. Can you give an example? How does that actually show up in a professional setting?
Sure. The source highlights this concerning example. A user was doing some deep market analysis, right? And a pretty controversial area could be clean energy policy, international trade disputes, something sensitive. They asked a single general-purpose AI to whip up a strategic brief. But the output they got back, well, because of the model's specific training data, its safety settings, it subtly leaned towards one particular politically safe stance.
So it wasn't like the AI was trying to be biased.
Yeah, not malicious.
It was just reflecting the data it was trained on, or maybe being overly cautious to avoid controversy.
Exactly that. It wasn't giving a neutral, comprehensive picture. It was delivering a slightly sanitized version, pre-filtered almost. And that's precisely why coordinating different AIs, your talent, is so vital. You might use one AI, maybe GPT, for the initial brainstorming, getting raw ideas out, but then you deploy a second one, perhaps Claude, known for its analytical neutrality, its restraint,
Yeah.
specifically to check the facts, check the arguments. That kind of redundancy protects the integrity of your work. It's about recognizing these built-in personalities, these limitations, and using that knowledge to optimize your workflow, really matching the capability to the specific professional need.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about checks and balances, even with AI.
Yeah.
So this leads us nicely into profiling the starting lineup. The core four, as the source calls them, they're the generalists, yes, but they already have these distinct specialties. All right, first up, the big one, the heavy hitter that kind of kicked off this whole revolution, ChatGPT. If we're building that dream team, ChatGPT is positioned as what? The creative synthesizer, the idea engine.
That's a perfect way to put it. Its core strengths, creativity, synthesis, broad reasoning, make it almost essential for starting any complex task. Think of it as your big picture thinker, your brainstorming partner. It's incredibly good at taking bits and pieces of information, sometimes totally unrelated stuff, and merging it into something new. Innovative ideas. That power of synthesis, that's its real signature. It connects dots you probably wouldn't have even thought of connecting. Gives you volume, variety, sometimes really unexpected angles.
And I think that's so important for efficiency, especially at the start. You know, when you're staring at a blank page. Need 10 different product concepts, 50 taglines, trying to get up to speed on a whole new field. That initial phase, the blue sky thinking, ChatGPT is perfect. It helps you leap over that first hour of just inertia.
Right, but there's a trade-off. And it's just as important to understand that because GPT is built for that creative volume, that breadth.
Yeah.
Its output often needs, well, quite a bit of work before it's ready for serious, high-stakes professional use. I remember a colleague telling me he asked GPT to write a pretty serious executive performance review. And the draft, technically okay, I guess, but it was full of overly flowery language, adjectives everywhere, and the tone was just all over the place. Too casual 1 minute, weirdly academic the next.
Yeah, it lacked that professional restraint you need for something sensitive like that. It's brilliant at synthesis, definitely.
Yeah.
But maybe not so great on the professionalism side sometimes. That's its creative personality showing through. So if you need sheer imagination, breadth of ideas, call GPT.
But the moment those raw ideas need to be presented, need to be refined for a professional audience, that's when you need the second specialist on the team, Claude.
Claude, yes. The source material is very clear on this one. Core strength, professional, safe, and nuanced communication. This is the AI you bring in when the output absolutely has to have that institutional polish, that careful consideration of risk, of liability.
So what does safe and professional actually mean, day to day? It means Claude is tuned for really high context awareness, and it's deliberately risk-averse. Think about drafting a global press release or a detailed policy brief that has to stick to strict internal rules, or content for a heavily regulated sector like finance or healthcare. Claude's whole philosophy is about restraint. It's designed to minimize the chance of factual errors, of overpromising, of using language that could be legally tricky.
Okay, so if GPT throws 50 raw, maybe slightly crazy ideas at the wall,
Yeah.
Claude is the one who picks the 5 that are actually viable, words them perfectly, and makes sure they're legally sound. Defensible. It's like the difference between brainstorming with that brilliant but maybe slightly erratic inventor in the garage
Yeah.
and getting a perfectly formatted, legally vetted memo from your head of comms.
Exactly. It's a natural partnership, really. GPT for the divergent thinking, the idea explosion. Claude for the convergent thinking, the careful selection, the refinement into professional language. If you try to make GPT act safe, you kind of stifle its creativity. And if you ask Claude to be wildly imaginative, you're probably wasting its core strength. Mastery is knowing which one to use when, respecting those boundaries.
All right, moving on. Player number 3. This one's strength is all about timing, about currency, which is just critical today, isn't it? Data gets old so fast. Gemini, characterized by real-time intelligence and multimodal reasoning.
Currency is absolutely king, especially if you're in fields like trading or breaking news analysis or managing supply chains that change by the hour. Gemini's edge is its ability to tap into and integrate live data streams. It's not stuck with training data that's 6 months old. It's designed to pull in up-to-the-minute market info, current news trends. It's your dedicated real-time intelligence scout, giving you that situational awareness that models relying on static data sets just can't provide.
Okay, and here's where we should probably go a bit deeper, especially for our audience who follows this stuff closely. The source mentions it briefly, but that combination of multimodal reasoning with the real-time access, that seems like a massive force multiplier. It's not just getting live text data, right? It's processing different kinds of data simultaneously.
Exactly. Think about, say, analyzing a competitor's new product launch. That's complex, right? You've got the press release that's text. You've got a product demo video that's visual, auditory. You've got the social media buzz sentiment analysis, and maybe the stock price reacting quantitative data.
A model that only handles text has to process all that sequentially, translate it all into text first. That takes time, slows down the big picture view.
Precisely. Gemini's strength is reportedly its ability to process those different inputs at the same time. It could potentially analyze the CEO's tone of voice in the launch video, cross-reference that with the visuals of the product design, and simultaneously factor in the live sentiment on social media, all to give you an immediate, comprehensive, strategic read. That ability to see the whole picture holistically in real time, that's huge for time-sensitive decisions. It's assessing the current state of play, not just past patterns.
That sounds incredibly powerful, but also complex to manage. Does
Yeah.
that multimodal capability bring its own challenges, like maybe higher computing costs or a greater risk of misinterpreting connections between data types?
It absolutely does, and that's part of the strategic calculation, isn't it? Gemini is likely best deployed for those really high-value insights, where the cost of not having current information is far greater than the cost of running the analysis. As for errors, well, its supposed strength is actually seeing those relationships between data types. So if the sales chart visuals seem to contradict the optimistic text in the press release, Gemini is theoretically built to spot that mismatch, flag the conflict. That's something a purely text-based model might miss if the language is smooth enough.
Okay, so we have the creator, GPT, the editor, Claude,
Mhm.
and the scout, Gemini. Ideas, polish, current context. Check, check, check. But who takes all that and actually makes it happen within your daily workflow, puts it into action? That seems to be where Copilot comes in.
Yes, Copilot. Its core strength is defined very clearly: seamless productivity integration. It's positioned as the dedicated executioner, the specialist that takes the ideas, the insights, the polished text, and translates it directly into action within the tools you already use every day.
And that's the key, right? The integration. It's often built right into the software you're already using. Microsoft Office, email, coding tools. You're not necessarily opening a separate chat window all the time. It's native. That removes a ton of friction.
Think about that workflow again. You use GPT to brainstorm a report structure. Claude polishes the executive summary. Then Copilot is the specialist that takes those pieces, automatically formats them into your company's branded PowerPoint template, maybe generates a draft email to your boss summarizing it, pulls key numbers into an Excel sheet, all without you having to manually copy, paste, tweak formats, switch between 5 different windows.
It really closes the loop. Make sure the high-level thinking actually results in something practical right away. It sounds like it could turn hours of boring admin work into just minutes. So its purpose isn't really conceptual thinking, it's utility, application within a defined space. Maybe less glamorous, but potentially the most immediately useful specialist for many people.
Absolutely. It just takes away that cognitive load of switching tasks, doing the manual grunt work. It connects the dots between the insights from the other 3 and the final deliverable.
Okay, so that's a strong core team, the generalists, each with their special focus.
Yeah.
But the framework, the source material, it emphasizes that even this isn't the whole picture. You need more for a truly complete team.
That's right. The source material is quite firm on this. The core 4 give you breadth, general capability. But any serious digital dream team also needs to integrate specialist tools. These are the niche AIs, the ones laser focused on specific critical domains. Think law, complex coding, maybe specialized design, deep scientific research.
Okay, let's unpack that. Why? Challenge it again. We've just established these core 4s are pretty powerful. GPT can draft a basic legal clause, maybe write some simple code. Why add the extra cost, the complexity of bringing in more specialist AIs? Can't the generalists handle most of it?
Well, generalists are generalists for a reason. They cover a wide area, but not necessarily with deep expertise everywhere. For, say, 90% of everyday tasks, drafting a standard email, generating some basic code snippets, sure, a general model is fine, probably good enough. But when you get to those really mission-critical tasks, where domain-specific accuracy is non-negotiable, that's where general models can actually become a liability. They're great at recognizing patterns, but they often lack that deep, nuanced understanding you need to avoid potentially huge errors.
Can you give a concrete example? Where does a generalist fail in a high-stakes situation?
Okay, contract drafting is a good one. Ask a generalist like GPT to analyze a complex commercial lease agreement. It'll probably give you a summary that sounds authoritative, looks pretty convincing, but let's say that contract hinges on some very specific local zoning regulations, or maybe an obscure legal precedent in computational law, things outside its general training data. The general model might just make something up, generate confidently wrong information, what people call hallucination. And in a legal context, that's catastrophic.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I see. And that's where the specialist AI comes in.
Exactly. A specialized legal AI. It's been trained specifically on current case law, up-to-date regulations, and historical precedents for that specific jurisdiction. It ensures high fidelity compliance. Same logic applies in highly technical fields, computational fluid dynamics, molecular biology. These specialist tools have beta sets, algorithms that a general LLM just doesn't have access to or couldn't manage effectively. The specialist provides that critical layer of depth, accuracy, and quality assurance that the general team, brilliant as they are, might miss.
So the dream team needs both. Generalists for speed, creativity, broad strokes. Specialists for the critical details, the subject matter expertise, the final check before you hit send.
It protects your work when the consequences of getting it wrong are really high.
Like asking your generally smart friend for medical advice versus consulting a specialist surgeon.
That's a good analogy. Both might be intelligent, but you only want the one with deep, specific training doing the actual procedure.
Right. Okay, so we have the players, generalists, and specialists. Now let's see how putting them together, coordinating them, creates that massive efficiency boost. The source material uses this great example. David, the marketing manager. His story really shows the power of the combined team in action.
Yeah, David's situation sounds pretty typical, right? Before this approach, he was drowning, timelines measured in weeks. Every good idea got bogged down in admin, meetings, endless revisions. His new workflow, though, it perfectly illustrates this AI orchestration concept. He's not just using tools, he's managing 4 distinct specialized colleagues in a kind of virtual marketing department.
Let's walk through David's process step by step, and let's focus on the friction each specialist removes and the time saved. So David needs a new national campaign. Usually takes maybe 2 weeks, meetings, brainstorming, writing, formatting, the whole 9 yards. He needs ideas first, raw material. So he turns to the creative synthesizer.
Step 1, deploy GPT, the creator. Okay, previously, David might spend, 2 full days just managing brainstorming sessions, sifting through okay-ish ideas, trying to find a spark. Now, he briefs GPT, gives it the target demographics, campaign goals, asks for campaign concepts. GPT uses its broad reasoning, its synthesis power, comes back with, say, 50 distinct ideas, maybe even categorized by tone or target audience. Time taken, maybe 30 minutes. He's just saved potentially 2 whole working days of fairly low-value, high-energy effort.
Okay, massive time saving already. But he's got 50 raw ideas, probably some gems, some duds, and definitely not ready for the executive pitch meeting next week. They need polish, professionalism. He needs the editor.
Step 2, deploy Claude, the editor. Right. David picks maybe the top 7 concepts from GPT's list, the ones with the most creative potential, but maybe also the ones that sound a bit wild. He feeds these into Claude, asks it to rewrite them into 3 distinct professional pitches. Needs that refined, confident, low-risk tone for the C-suite. Claude leverages its strength in nuanced communication, delivers perfectly worded executive-ready language, strips out jargon, minimizes anything that sounds risky or legally questionable. Time taken, maybe an hour for refinement. That probably saves him another full day of back-and-forth editing, memo drafting, internal reviews.
The pitches look great, polished, professional. But wait today. The market's changing constantly. Are these ideas still relevant today? Not just last week when GPT brainstormed them. Before finalizing, he needs a reality check. He needs the scout.
Step 3, deploy Gemini, the scout. Good point. So David takes those 3 refined pitches, maybe adds some current internal sales figures, links to recent competitor news. He tasks Gemini, scan the market right now. Is there some new event happening that makes one pitch suddenly tone deaf? A sudden shift in consumer mood? A competitor move he missed? Gemini uses its real-time access, its multimodal capability, perhaps, to check market viability, flags potential issues, maybe even spots a sudden opportunity based on breaking news. Time taken, 15 minutes for that critical, up-to-the-minute situational awareness. That potentially saves a huge amount of wasted budget or reputational damage from launching something outdated.
Okay, almost there. He's got polished, market-validated ideas. Now he just needs to present them flawlessly, without spending half a day wrestling with PowerPoint. He needs the executor.
Step 4, deploy Copilot, the executor. Exactly. David opens his presentation software where Copilot is likely integrated. He feeds it the final text from Claude, maybe the key data points confirmed by Gemini. Copilot takes over, formats the entire presentation using the company's template, auto-generates charts from the data, pulls the text into speaker notes, maybe even drafts a summary email to his team using the pitch text. Time taken, perhaps 20 minutes, saving him easily half a day, maybe more, of that tedious, soul-crushing formatting and admin work.
And the end result. This is the punchline from the source material, isn't it?
Hmm.
David produces in hours what used to take him weeks. And that massive gain, it doesn't come from finding one magical better AI. It comes from strategically deploying the right specialist AI at the right time in the workflow. Coordination.
That's it, precisely. It's the direct result of shifting from relying on one tool to orchestrating a team. The real breakthrough isn't some new feature update on a single platform. It's the synergy. It's understanding how the different specialists complement each other, how they fill each other's gaps.
Okay, this deep dive has laid out a really practical framework, I think. Essential for any professional trying to make sense of this incredibly fast-moving AI landscape. Let's try and synthesize the key mindset shifts needed to actually implement this digital dream team idea effectively.
Right. The first big takeaway, and we really can't stress this enough, personality matters. We have to keep coming back to that finding from the source. Each AI has a personality.
Yeah.
You need to get past seeing them as just lines of code, as algorithms. Start interacting with them. Get a feel for their inherent traits, that adventurous creativity in GPT, the careful, necessary caution of Claude, Gemini's focus on now, Copilot's down-to-earth utility. You need to understand those nuances.
And understanding that personality is the foundation for the second key takeaway. Strategic deployment. Mastery isn't just about feeding prompts into a box. It's knowing exactly who to call for which task. It demands strategic thinking, not just lazy inputting. If you need to double-check compliance with a new financial rule, you don't ask the creative AI GPT, you get imaginative nonsense. You call the specialist legal AI, or maybe Claude for its risk aversion. Need a wild idea for a team-building event? Call GPT. It's about matching the tool to the job deliberately.
And taking this systematic approach also builds resilience, protects you from market volatility, which leads to the final goal, building a truly robust digital dream team. Why? To make sure you are not overly reliant on any single platform, you're not vulnerable to their server outages, their sudden price changes, maybe even shifts in their programming or biases. That redundancy, that's just smart professional architecture in today's world. Having a single point of failure for critical tasks is just, well, it's unacceptable in a competitive environment.
Okay, so if we connect this to the bigger picture, you've drafted your team. You know their strengths, their personalities. What's the next big challenge? Where does the real competitive edge come in next? It seems like it's learning how to manage this team effectively. Drafting is step one, coaching is step two.
Precisely. The next logical step, once you have the team, is learning how to communicate with them effectively, fluently, through advanced instruction. The source material's call to action here is crystal clear. The next breakthrough, the real efficiency unlock, comes from that strategic deployment, plus coordinating the talent through advanced prompt engineering.
Prompt engineering. Okay, so that's basically the instruction manual, the coaching guide for your AI team. It's that skill of giving really precise, structured instructions that deliberately play to the strengths of each specific AI, while also mitigating their known weaknesses. You wouldn't prompt Claude the same way you prompt GPT, for example.
Exactly right. The prompts need to be tailored to the personality. For GPT, you might give it creative freedom, but add clear boundaries. Generate 10 campaign ideas, be wildly creative, but ensure each concept can be visually summarized in a single image and described in under 15 words. End quote. For Claude, you'd use prompts with specific guardrails. Analyze this customer complaint data, generate a summary report, but strictly adhere to the empathetic yet professional tone outlined in our brand voice guide, section 4. You're consciously using their specific architectures to get the best possible output for that specific task.
And mastering that skill, that's what separates someone who gets just a good enough answer from an AI, from a leader who gets the truly optimal result for the job at hand. Once you know who your specialists are, you have to learn how to talk to them to unlock that final, massive efficiency gain, maybe that 90% David achieved.
And the effort you put into learning that orchestration, it pays back fast. The David example really drives it home. Huge efficiency gains are sitting there waiting to be claimed. But it takes strategy, it takes coordination, not just access to the technology.
We've covered a lot of ground. Hopefully we've helped move the thinking from AI as this one big confusing thing towards I can strategically manage a team of specialized digital assistants. So let's leave you with a provocative thought to chew on. Something to apply to your own work life, based on this framework.
Yeah, think about this. What's your single biggest professional bottleneck right now? That one crucial task that always seems to slow things down, that holds up
Yeah.
your projects. Maybe it takes you 10 hours every time you have to do it. Now, remember David's story shifting from weeks down to hours? That's potentially a 90% reduction. So the question is, what specific task in your work could potentially see that kind of 90% reduction if you applied this AI portfolio strategy? And thinking about the function of that task, which two AI specialists, based on their profiles, do you need to hire onto your digital dream team first to start tackling that bottleneck and unlocking that gain?
That 90% reduction. It's not science fiction anymore. It's achievable. But only if you move past treating AI as a single tool and embrace the strategic reality of managing a coordinated team. Thank you for diving deep into the AI competitive landscape and this whole digital dream team framework with us today.
We really hope you feel better informed, definitely, but also, crucially, not overwhelmed by it all. Adopting a multi-AI strategy, learning to orchestrate these tools, that's becoming an indispensable skill. It's how you gain knowledge faster, work more effectively, and ensure you're not just keeping up, but actually leading your own digital future.